Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. This is a special transmission. It's an unusual time. The reason we are doing it is because we have some sensational revelations regarding the BAPS temple construction. I don't know if you remember, in 2021, there was a huge case that was alleged that there was caste discrimination. There was caste discrimination happening at the temple construction. And now the cat is out of the bag. A lot of new details have emerged. To know all about that, let's welcome Nikunj Trivedi, the president of CoHNA. Nikunj, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel. How are you, sir?
Good. Namaste. How are you?
I'm doing well. Nikunj, I saw the tweet from CoHNA and I said, we need to go live with this right now, even though it's in the middle of night for India, but a lot of people are watching us from United States. So take us back to 2021. The Cisco caste discrimination case had been filed a few months before that. And then between the eyes comes this particular sensational revelation. Take it away.
Yeah. So in June of 2020, the Cisco case was filed. And then in May of 2021, New York Times broke a news story that said that the BAPS temple in Robbinsville, New Jersey, one of the largest temples in the world, was exploiting its workers and creating unfavorable conditions. Not just labor violation, but also caste-based, because these are low-caste Dalit workers, and therefore they were basically the feds descended. Hundreds of federal agents descended on the Hindu temple. Went into sacred spaces of the swamis, the pandits, acharyas, things like that, as well as just violated sacred space. All on the false allegations that the BAPS temple was basically indulging in all this caste discrimination, and they were not paying the workers fairly. There was a systematic abuse and things like that. And that case was broken big time. And then, of course, Equality Labs, 𝙒𝙬𝙤𝙪𝙥𝙤, and many others in the entire ecosystem started to retweet the case and started to say, that Dalits, Hindu temples are monuments of slavery. Dalits are being persecuted by Hindus. Hinduism is basically a slave religion. So many different things were being put on. And this entire saga started big time in May of 2021. Interestingly, the New York Times article was literally published when the federal agents were actually descending on the temple. So it remains to be seen how the heck did New York Times actually get that information while the federal agents are actually showing up at the gates of the BAPS temple. So fast forward to July of 2023, we have just received information that 12 of the workers who were coerced into this and misled by this information have withdrawn the case against the BAPS temple. And the press release, and I will go just read sort of the headline of the press release.
And we leave the link to that. Yes. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's by the 𝙒𝙖𝙧𝙤𝙪𝙥𝙥 Nirman Sangh. I think it's from Sirohi in Rajasthan. And they have basically issued a press release that says on July 13th, which is 2 days ago, dozens of artisans decide to withdraw from caste against Hindu Mandir in America, saying that caste is a false conspiracy. It actually starts off by saying a deep-rooted conspiracy to stall the construction of a grand Hindu temple in America has been exposed recently. And then it goes on to say that Rajasthan High Court advocate Aditya S.B. Soni announced that the two labor unions, which is the Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh and Patthar Ghadai Sangh, both have declared that the artisans have come forward and basically said that they have been target of a conspiracy, but have now rebelled against it. Now, there's some very damning information in here. So I want to show this thing real quick. Obviously, as I mentioned, the police descended, the FBI basically descended on May 11th, 2021. Now, there were about 110 of the 134 artisans that were taken away by the police. And now these guys have basically said that Swati Sawant, who was the lawyer in this case, misled them into making the complaint. And so they now want to withdraw from it. These artisans have made the strong claim that Swati Sawant and her companions impressed upon them and misled them using false temptation to make a complaint against the temple management. What were these false temptations? Now, here's the kicker. Ready? Aditya Soni, basically the lawyer, said that the artisans were too afraid to tell the truth because they were warned that Swati Sawant and some of her fellow artisans would report them to the American police and that they will be put behind bars if they reveal the truth. Swati Sawant also convinced them to make false allegations in court, tempting them with promises of American citizenship for them and their families and huge amounts of money. But when they found out, essentially on May 11th, many of these artisans went to the FBI and to testify, but then they realized that they were caught in this massive conspiracy and they wanted to go home. So as soon as they came home, before they came home, Swati Sawant continued to insist for them to stay and repeated her offer of American citizenship and money for them. Advocate Sawant also called their families in India to make them force the artisans to stay in the US. But by this time, the artisans has realized that the truth and contacted the lawyer 𝙒𝙧𝙤𝙪𝙥𝙥 for his help. Now there's a whole thing that they have filed a case. They realized that they have been misled. They have now withdrawn the case and have basically said that they are working with the attorney to let the American authorities know, and the sort of the I guess the courts here know that they are voluntarily withdrawing the case. And essentially, this says notarized affidavits, videotape interviews, and statements given by the volunteer artisans in the presence of advocates support and are proof of the above report. So
Nikunj,
this is unbelievable.
Yes, indeed. I'm still trying to analyze everything. I'm trying to internalize what you said. Swati Sawant. I mean, Kshama Sawant, Swati Sawant. Coincidence, of course. Unless it is not.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're related or not. But yeah, certainly we don't think they're related. But who knows? But it's coincident that on one end of the United States, you have Kshama Sawant, who has been using the BAPS case, the 𝙒𝙗𝘂𝗍 case, etc., to malign the Hindu community and say there is grave caste discrimination. So all of this is a lot of the sort of, it's pretty made up, right? You can see that this sort of theory has been made up, and an entire sort of house of cards has been erected, and all these allegations around caste discrimination have been made mainstream. And think about all the Washington Post, New York Times, I mean, you name it, every single one of them carried this, sort of this false allegation in May of 2021. Even the Harvard Law Review, which had argued for passing caste discrimination laws in the United States, cited this. Now, this is a classic example of Hindu phobia. Creating this idea that Hindus are dangerous, that they need to be, there needs to be laws to curb such discrimination, and Hindus are gonna be basically like creating this problem in the United States of America. They are racist, and they are, essentially out there to get all these to peddle caste discrimination, which they have imported from India, and which, by the way, has its roots in Hinduism and so on and so forth. So this is a classic example of how Hindu phobia can be so dangerous and can be manipulated to target the Hindu community, including our sacred spaces and temples, and violate our civil rights.
Yes, indeed. And someone asked me if this is live. Yes, this is being beamed live. We felt it was important that people know that this is another caste discrimination case, a fake case that is now looking to collapse. The important thing here is, Nikunj, the Hindu community in the United States, as well as Northern America, I should say, is beginning to wake up and fight back and stand for what they believe. And this is something that is going to, fall on its own. But one thing that amazes me, Nikunj, senator after senator, state senators in California, congressman after congressman, or I should say assemblyman after assemblyman in California, they are voting unanimously for this. I mean, why would somebody, even though the evidence is staring them in the face, continue to do this thing? Who is the big guy operating the levers behind the scenes? Your guess.
Well, we know one guy, Amar Shergill, from the Progressive Democratic Party, right? He has essentially threatened people and said that if you vote against this thing, you're going to be in trouble. I mean, we have seen his tweets. So I'm not just making this up. There are tweets by him that basically threaten anybody who wants to vote against it. We have also seen how bitter Senator Wahab gets when talking about this and when people are opposing her. So that's another. So there's an entire group of people who are really pushing this and have put their careers on line, essentially, to make sure that this law passes. And as you know, what has been going on, right? If you look at the March version of SB 403, and if you look at the latest version of SB 403, there's a dramatic change in there, thanks to the pushing back from the Hindu community. But even one word of caste is one too many. And they can use that to target the community. So we are completely saying that until caste, the word is removed completely, we are not going to be satisfied, no matter how watered down or whatever people say the bill is. It's not acceptable. But you can see how this is being targeted. So you have an entire machinery operating here. People like Amar Shergill who are very deeply embedded in this entire thing.
Now, I have heard news that across the aisle, on the Republican side, there is a lawyer called Harmanpreet Dillon, if I'm not wrong.
Harmeet Dillon.
Harmeet Dillon. Thanks for correcting me. Are these two close? I mean, is there like you pump here, I will pump, do the same thing here, or is it just for Khalistan purposes?
It's probably the latter, I would say.
Okay.
And we know, for example, a guy working there, J.P. Dale, one of the lawyers working for Ms. Dillon, essentially has targeted the Hindu community by attacking Shivalinga. And also, he was the first one to say that anybody who wants to, he's licensed to practice law in Washington State, and he would love to take a case of caste discrimination and go after it. So we know where it is, and unfortunately, Ms. Dillon has not distanced herself from this guy's, like basically Hindu-phobic and anti-Hindu comments on Twitter and things like that. So you see, like there are certain places where they intersect. Of course, from an ideological perspective, they are on the different side of the aisle. But when it comes to certain issues, they're aligned, unfortunately.
Yeah, I just wanted to make that fact that, we wanted to look at both sides. I don't carry a brief for any party. I just wanted to, I see that the two are they are seen operating closely. That's why that question was asked. Nikunj, moving forward, let us say this caste case also is dismissed. What about all those people who have already passed legislation, like the CSU, California State University, or UC Davis has some special things, San Diego has some things, and then Seattle City has something. When will these things be stopped? Or do we have to go and sue each and every one of them using like entities such as CoHNA and HAF and so on and so forth? How is this going to be stopped? This is a total blatant case of lies.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I don't think the universities will repel or repeal those things. We can go back. We should be going back to every single place where we can, from small cities to large universities and large towns, etc. We need to go after every single one of them and say, hey, look, your entire edifice was based on these two things, and they are collapsing as we speak. So how can you have a law? It's clearly you're using this to target the community. Now, they may say no, but if we don't try, we don't get it. Number one. Number two is it might just end up being in lawsuits. So at some point, if somebody is impacted by this, they have to go and sue. And we as a community need to pump in the funds needed to start filing lawsuits. And that's the only way I feel people are going to learn. You have to have political weight, which the community needs to do by different types of things. Then you need to have some cachet to really go after people with their lawsuits and stuff like that, and file complaints. Unfortunately, we have to file complaints. Students need to file complaints that they feel they don't feel safe. There's this whole diversity and inclusion offices in universities. We are also part of that diversity and inclusion, right? We should not. It's not diversity and inclusion doesn't apply to Hindus. So students need to go and complain about this. In fact, take this BAPS case, take the Cisco case, and say, hey, you passed a policy in XYZ university based on these cases. They're gone, or they are collapsing as we speak. 12 workers have just pulled out from this case and actually has said that the BAPS temple welcomed them and treated them with love and respect and gave them everything. So you can see this happening again and again. Cisco case, same thing, right? We talked about this a while ago as well. So you start to see this pattern, and we as a community really need to go after these players and push back.
Thank you so much, Nikunj. And viewers, tomorrow there's a day-long conference in Fremont about caste. It's called Caste Conference, and I'll be there, and a lot of luminaries of... Oh, you'll be there. Wonderful, yes. Wonderful. So let's catch up in person. Maybe we can have some additional information on this case. So I'm going to be there. I'll be doing some coverage. I'll also be talking to many of the panelists, and I hope to see you all there. As always, Nikunj, thank you so much for responding so quickly. And viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.
Namaste. Thank you so much for having me.